Hi guys, and welcome to another video. If you're new here, my name is Allie and I'm a young mom to my 15-month-old son Grayson, and many of you have probably come from my TikTok account. I'll link it below. It's the Bollman bunch, where I post a lot of mom content and dancing content and pregnancy and motherhood content and all that. So if you're one of the few that did not come from TikTok, you can go check me out. But anyway, on my TikTok, I posted a video about how I'm extended breastfeeding Grayson. Maybe I'll insert it here. And so that post generated a lot of questions. Instead of trying to reply to each individual question, I'm only given a certain amount of words to answer on TikTok. I thought I'd make a more in-depth video and explain some of these things for people that are curious. So I'm going to be answering your questions about breastfeeding. How were you able to get through the initial pain of nursing? I'm due in June and nervous about the pain that comes with nursing. So there definitely was pain in the beginning. But with my personal experience, it was not as painful as I had anticipated, just because I had heard that it was painful and I was expecting it to be horrible. I definitely did get like cracked and kind of like blistery, but I thought it would have been a lot worse, and it's not fun, but you'll get through it and it gets easier as time goes on. I'm a first-time mom about to have my baby any day now, and how did you figure out how to nurse and work? I'm nervous. This part's hard. I'm lucky and I didn't start working until I was about 6 months postpartum, and I started part-time, and I had some really nice employers who sometimes let me bring Grayson in and nurse him, which was really nice, but other times I would have to pump, and they would just let me put up a sign, because it was a baby clothing boutique, and they'd let me put a sign on the door that said like, I'll be back in 15 minutes, and then I would pump in the back room. But it's definitely a pain to haul back and forth pump parts and to worry about cleaning it and keeping the milk like cold and stuff. Do his teeth hurt? So Grayson's actually kind of a late teether. He didn't get teeth until like 11 months. He got 2, and then now he has 4, and I think he's getting 5 and 6. He went through a little phase where he would kind of test me and bite me, and I've been told that what you should do is like you should react and be like, ow, and like almost scare them. That's just what I've been told by like different moms and like online resources, but like maybe I wasn't a good actor, but I would do that and Grayson would start laughing. Like he thought it was hysterical that I was like yelling out in pain. And so now what I just do is, if he does bite me, which he doesn't do it very often, I just take him off, and then I just tell him no, and I take him off and I put him back on. So I guess that way he just learns that if I take him off, that means like we're not doing that anymore. So I think that's been the most effective, is honestly just taking him off. Does your body just keep making milk for as long as it's being used? That's the really cool thing about breastfeeding, and I don't think I understood this until like I was pregnant and looked into it more. But as much as you like nurse your baby, your body produces milk. So if your baby's nursing all the time, like every few hours, your body's going to produce a lot of milk. But right now I only nurse him like 2 to 3 times a day, so it produces a lot less. And and eventually I'll keep on dropping a nursing session, and then to the point where I don't produce milk anymore. Any tips for keeping up your supply? So this is kind of related, and I did have some supply issues around the 3-month, 4-month mark. And the good news is like I never had not good news, but a positive you could see is I never had a super strong supply, and so I never really got engorged that bad. There was only one time, and it was like I was stuck in the car in like bad traffic, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I need to like relieve myself somehow, like, and it was really bad. But other than that, I was hardly engorged, never got mastitis, and so, but because of that, I just didn't really have a great supply. It came in late. I had to like start pumping in the first place for it to even come in. But I did see a lactation consultant, so if you're having supply problems, I would suggest seeing a lactation consultant as soon as you can. The other thing I'd say is hydrate. I'm terrible at drinking water, and honestly that could be half of my issue. Drink as much water as you can, and then it is just that supply and demand. Like what the lactation consultant told me to do is, after I'm finished nursing Grayson, pump for 15 minutes longer after that. And that was hard to do because at that age, Grayson required a lot more of my attention, and so I wasn't really able to just sit and pump and watch him. But that was their recommendation to me. So that way it tricks your body into thinking, oh, he's still hungry, he's still nursing, I need to like produce more. Did you mostly feed off yourself or pump the milk and feed with a bottle so Matthew could feed him too? I mostly just breastfed because, to be honest, like, people talk about how hard breastfeeding is, and I think breastfeeding's hard because it's a significant time commitment, but I think bottle feeding is also hard because I hate, with a burning passion, cleaning pump parts and cleaning bottle parts. I think it is so annoying and time consuming. So I didn't pump much because it was so time consuming to pump, and then it was time consuming to clean the stuff, and it was just a whole deal. So if I could avoid it, I didn't pump if I didn't have to. Obviously there were times where I had to, but I didn't really pump just so there'd be extra so Matthew could help me. I mean, there were times where I had to do that, but for the most part I tried not to because I really didn't like to. Do you still nurse the same amount? If you're supplementing with foods, how much do you cut down on nursing? I'd say this kind of gradually tapered off. We did do food at around 6 months, and for the most part we kept his normal nursing schedule, but I think he did start to nurse less and less each time. And then once he hit the year point, we slowly started cutting down, because I think at a year, I think he was nursing 6 or 7 times a day, and now he's down to 3 or 2. So as time went on, we just slowly took out more nursing sessions. Do you pump at work? I don't pump at my current job. I've just kind of come to accept that Grayson doesn't need like breast milk all day long, and he's old enough where it's not his main food source anymore. He eats and he drinks water, so I just nurse him in the morning. I get home from work, because when I get home from work, he's like yelling at me and he's like wanting to nurse right away, and then right before bed, and then if he wakes up in the middle of the night, it's usually how I get him back to sleep. Do you find nursing to be challenging? Yes and no. Kind of like I said, I think pumping and cleaning pump parts is really, really challenging too, for different reasons. I think breastfeeding is challenging just because it creates this kind of dependency where, especially when they're really little, it's like you need to feed them every 1 hour, every 2 hours, and like you're the only one that can do it. I think that's a lot of work and that's a lot of responsibility, and like, you know, it's also just like, if you go a whole day without nursing, like you're gonna get engorged and you're gonna have issues, or your supplies going to drop. I do think it takes a toll to have to kind of keep up with all that and be on top of it. It's just something that, like, before you're a mom, you don't think that much about, and now it's a big part of my life that I've come to accept, and it's totally normal for me. But like, I think when you first become a mom, you're like, seriously, I have to do this like every hour, every 2 hours, eventually every 3 hours. I mean, the older they get, the longer you can go without nursing them, but yeah, it's definitely an adjustment when you first start breastfeeding to realize just, wow, this is like work, this is like a job in itself. Did he latch right away, or did you have to use a shield? I was actually super lucky. Gray was a really good nurser, if that's a thing. Like, his latch was really good. He would fall asleep a lot nursing, and so maybe that was kind of tied to some of my supply issues. I think in the beginning I didn't completely understand how that worked. I didn't realize that if he fell asleep nursing, it wasn't really going to help my production or anything. And I don't think I nursed as consistently as I should have, so maybe that had something to do with it. But he did cluster feed a lot in the beginning too, so I don't know. It's just hard in the beginning when you're in pain, but you know you have to regulate their supply, so you're wanting them to nurse, but at the same time you're like, please don't. Do you ever feel judged or uncomfortable nursing as he gets older? Honestly, probably one of the first times I felt judged the other day was when we were at a restaurant, and it was after work, and I had met Matthew and Grayson at the restaurant. He wanted to nurse. He was like kind of getting upset about it and wanting to, and he's 15 months, but he's a tall 15 months, and there's something just about taking a huge toddler and like putting them on you to nurse in public that, like, you just know kind of attracts a lot of attention. And it's not that I care that I'm nursing him, I just know people are probably like, wow, that's like a big baby, or like that's a big toddler. And I don't think anyone was judging, I felt more aware of it than I think I would have if he was younger. If you nurse longer, is it known to make the baby smarter? What are the benefits? You know, maybe I'll link some articles in the description or something. I don't know like statistics off the top of my head. I don't think it necessarily makes a baby smarter, but I do think there's like health benefits and some immune system benefits. What I do know though is that the benefits of breastfeeding that are present with babies do not diminish into toddlerhood. So if you continue to breastfeed past 1 year, they're still benefiting from that. It doesn't just stop being beneficial because they turn 1. My youngest I still nurse. She's 13 months. People definitely judge. How do you deal with people making comments on extended nursing? I honestly haven't really ever gotten comments in public, just on social media. But in general, people have actually been pretty supportive on social media. I think it more comes from a place of people not understanding that it's actually pretty normal to breastfeed past 12 months. Like, I was talking to an acquaintance, and she had said something like, oh, did you know like so-and-so was still nursing her baby at I think 12 months or something. And I think at the time Grayson was 10 months, and I was just sitting there like, gosh, I really don't think she knows that that's actually pretty normal. And so I do think there's a big misconception that only babies are supposed to be breastfed. And in other countries, the age that's normal to breastfeed is much higher than the US. I mean, I don't think I would ever do this, but some people will breastfeed up until 4 or 5 years old, and in other countries that's completely normal, which blows my mind. What pump did you use? I will insert a picture, but I used a Spectra, but not the big Spectra. I used a portable one. I don't know, I got it free from insurance when I was pregnant, and at the time I was like, I want a really portable pump. You can do it on the go, which definitely is a good thing, but it wasn't a hospital grade pump. And so if you're pregnant or, you're looking for a pump, I would recommend to make sure it's a hospital grade one, because I wish I had gotten the Spectra that's the big one. Did you ever try the Haka? Yes, I did try the Haka. Again, I'll insert a picture for the people that have no idea what I'm talking about. And I found it to be useful. It definitely did collect a lot of milk, but the only problem is I felt like it was just another thing to wash and another thing to deal with. And I think when you first start nursing, you're kind of really bad at holding and doing a bunch of things at once. And so I'd be trying to nurse him and get the grip and the position right, while also trying to attach the Haka, and it would fall and spill milk. So I like it, but it's also kind of a pain. That's just my personal opinion. I'll probably get it the next time I breastfeed, and I'll try to, maybe because I'll know how to breastfeed easier earlier on, it won't be that big of a deal. But I do think it's a great way to build up a freezer stash without having to pump. I'd rather use the Haka and pump if I had to. Are you going to do it again with your next baby? If I'm able to, I would love to breastfeed with all my babies. I think it's just super bonding and, like I said, convenient. You don't have to wash stuff. Me speaking about breastfeeding is not meant to shame people that didn't breastfeed, because Grayson was not exclusively breastfed. There were times we used formula, especially when my supply was low, and the lactation consultant actually recommended it because at the end of the day, she didn't want him to be hungry either. So if I nursed and he was still hungry, we'd give him formula. Or if there was a time that I was out, and whether it was at work or there was just a situation where I couldn't be with him, we would give formula probably 15% of the time, 10% of the time. So it is a nice alternative to have. And if a mom isn't able to breastfeed, of course, that's the next best thing. And my only purpose is to inform and not to shame anyone who makes a different decision than I do. So, yeah. Anyways, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I know this video was not kind of my typical content. It's a little more motherhood focused than I usually do, but people did have a lot of questions, and I hope you guys found this interesting and informative. If there's any other questions that you missed, I will answer it in the comments. Feel free. Also, I can't believe it, but we have just hit 4,000 subscribers. We're just getting so much closer to my goal of 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2020. So if you have not subscribed yet, please do and help us reach our goal. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.